Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 7-Eleven Game Time Anytime. We are about to get into map 2, and the action is heating up. I even got a little companion wanted to come in, say hello, and see what is up, because this first map was a fun one to watch, and we're heading over to Icebox next.
I know, I wish I had a pet, but unfortunately, maybe soon. Next cast. But overall, yeah, Icebox, we saw what Teal Team could do for Icebox, and it was a fantastic showing in the semifinals, but this time around, not the same teams to go up against. It's going to be instead EX-SERENITY, who I believe also played on Icebox yesterday and had a very good showing. It's going to be difficult to see how this goes down. I like the adaptation of Adder now, instead bringing out Skye, goes for the KO. A lot of suppression that could come out here, a lot of information that could be gained with the 0 point, but the no command is what I'm really thinking about for B-site.
Gosh, I'm so excited seeing KO over Skye. You still get those flashes, but a different kit can just bring out so much shenanigans, and I am here for it. Another key difference, which is one that we got to see earlier on in the broadcast, it's going to be the Killjoy versus the Sage.
That's right. This Killjoy pick was really interesting. It's a little bit more of a newer meta setup, just because, again, the Radianite box that was changed on side of B is no longer penetrable, and the reason why you would bring out Sage a lot of the time for the attack was to make sure you could wall off that wall, and make sure no one could necessarily wall bang through that plant and use the Sage wall for the spike to go down. But now that it's not penetrable anymore, it's a little bit less necessary to have Sage for that specific spot, and that's why we're seeing a little bit more Sage wall usage on A site and a little bit more kitchen on both sides as well.
Of course, reminder, over on Ascent, Teal Team was able to be taking the victory, so they are up 1-0 in the finals. Would love the opportunity to be closing it out here instead of going to the game 3 over on Vine. In terms of where we're sitting for pistol round, the Killjoy setup is over on A, but look at EX-SERENITY all lined up outside of Belong.
Yeah, there's only one body outside of B, and it's going to be Fly up by themselves. We've seen this happen before. Early Snakebite goes down, but is that going to stop anybody? The answer so far is no. Oh, yes, it does.
It's going to at least slow them down, and it might actually kind of eyeing up for someone like behind them, but you know what? Nah, the Snakebite's gone. We're just going to go full force ahead so far on B. Try and catch someone out. There's still 3 bodies for Teal Team over on A, with only the Viper still on B. So waiting out the utility, or at least the one. Wall goes back up, but they're going to take this opportunity to just rush out and take this site.
Really interesting adaptation there. Sage wall goes up above and nest, and the spike goes down right after. What do you do here? The rope is locked off.
Oh, I love that placement. That is not something I've seen. I have not watched enough TikToks to be catching this moment. Absolutely loving it. And a nice little power angle for player as well up there. There is still 4 members of Teal Team to try and push out onto site, but EX-SERENITY being able to fire back with, I guess, almost a full squad now. But they are firing back well, being able to try and get this advantage. Time running out from the back of its site. Here it is. Look at that. The right click around the corner. Nick is able to secure this round. Last alive, EX-SERENITY on the board for pistol.
Yeah, the classic jumping, classic right click. Always such a sweet treat to see. But overall, for the attack, EX-SERENITY brought out something I frankly have never seen before in pro play. I love that nest plant with the jet, and I think that reminds me a lot of Haven, where we see the fast plant on the B side as well. We might see a lot more of that, but the problem with more niche styles like that is that it's easy to read into if you're on the defensive side. Look at where EX-SERENITY is right now. They're positioned outside of B again. No real change from Teal Team's defensive setup though. So I'm curious to see, are we going to see that same nest plan go through again?
No, at least with the knife, you know that the Viper is not on the close angle. Instead, potentially a little farther back, giving EX-SERENITY the opportunity to be pushing out on to site here. Here it is, a different type of Sage wall. This one, I feel like we get to see a little more often as Spike is going down. Viper wall, gonna deny any sort of line of sight, giving EX-SERENITY the opportunity to sit up and get ready for this post plant. His player, nice little Marshall shot, holding off Teal Team. It's a little slaughterhouse out here. As soon as they come onto site, they're falling. Yoshi playing a little further back, with the whole team staring him down. dashes out for just a moment, but then taken down shortly after.
Bit of a slower retake again. We only saw Nick by themselves on B site again, 2 rounds in a row. And with the setup that we do see coming out from TEAL team, it's not much of a surprise to have a solo Viper. They're meant to get away. We see a full retake from TEAL team, and that's supposed to be the winning round move. But unfortunately, not always the case with such an aggressive team like Serenity here. But again, though, 3rd round, the buy up for the defenders. No, it's a bonus buy for the rest of these attackers here. It's a split push, and the spike hasn't been picked up or dedicated just yet, but every single facet of attacking is going to be used here.
Trying to get this information over on B, but look over on A. Bones pushing up. Bones was a standout last time that we got to see him on Icebox, and that was a fantastic opening pick to be like, you know what, don't forget about me. You know, I'm still strong on this map. Pushing out onto B, Fire being pushed away from Ness, and Adder going to be able to get not 1, but 2 to be able to take control of this site. Spike now going to be picked up and dedicated, but it does give TEAL team the opportunity to start rotating over.
No Sage to work with the EX-SERENITY either. No Sage wall for the safety of the plant.
Shock Dart to try and delay a plant. Push them out of sight here. That popping around the corner, Echo able to find a nice little bull shot. It is Bones against the world. Depression caught out. Here is EX-SERENITY with a 3-0 lead.
4 in a row. I'm surprised again we didn't see the full aggressive buy from TEAL team in round 2. We saw that happen on Ascent, and they were able to take away on Haven. We were able to say so many odd rounds happen afterwards, but that's okay. Now we get to see a much more traditional economy between both teams, but the setup here from TEAL team, we do see a lot of Killjoy utility set up outside of on the dip area, excuse me, and the Molly's placed for mid as well. We've only seen 1 lurking play from Serenity towards mid as of yet, and it's gonna again be, I believe, Nick going through, but no one pushing by just yet.
The push up from TEAL team up into B, the Viper wall concealing them for now, but popping around the corner, Fire unable to quite get that one, pushed back with a nade as well. So not going to be able to get that nice little aggressive pick that they had hoped for. And Spike over on A, Echo able to be trying to drone out a little bit onto site. Doesn't see anyone right out of the gate. I don't think he was able to catch the one under rafters either. Yoshi might not be discovered for now.
Aiko does have the Hunter's Fury. Could be good to clear out everybody towards the back of sight. Joba, though, goes for the fire.
So the fire not able to quite make it connect, though. The recon dart destroyed, not being able to call out anyone quite yet. 45 seconds left in the round, but they are going to be pushing this fast. Wall up to be able to hold down that angle even more, but the shock dart's coming out to try and delay the push as much as possible. Spike carrier going down on top of that, but EX-SERENITY able to fire back. Put themselves into 2v1. It's just Cade. Go 3v1. Look at that res coming out. There it is. EX-SERENITY with the 4-0.
4 in a row now. Both A and B sides have not worked out for TLC as of yet. And we've seen a lot of respect and disrespect coming out from this side too. We've seen a lot of disrespect towards mid and A in the buy-up rounds, but B-side was a much more retake-heavy phenomenon, and neither of which seemed to work. Now that ults are in the board, now we are seeing a little bit more, what we could see is a little bit more usage of that to determine a round. Remember, we talked about in the pre-show, that null command from Serenity having the KO could be good to see a full push onto site, but as of now, that really hasn't been much of an issue. But KJ Util is set up towards A, so it very well could come out here to create space.
For sure, but so far, a lot of pressure towards A. There is a Killjoy setup, and there is 3 standing outside of A, but Adder able to get a nice opening pick, play a little bit aggressively to try and be pushing out onto site, especially with that null command to put the suppression out, make this even more difficult for Teal Team to finding a little bit of an opening here. Spike plant, and now just go for post-plant positions, and EX-SERENITY gonna be playing this from a distance.
That's right. Post-plant positions, lineups are good, spotted out by the Owl drone.
Ooh, Cade able to at least find one and can fire back with a lockdown here. This try and go for defuse does get it at least halfway before the Hunter's Fury comes out, but the Hunter's Fury will find at least one. Cade is against 4. Does have at least 1 detained with that. Spike halfway, but not going to be enough.
Forced to fully back off, and we did see the KJ lockdown as well. Everything TEAL team is trying to throw at EX-SERENITY, none of which is working out at all. Nick hasn't even died yet. 6-0 so far, 5 rounds in. The economy, again, keep talking about it. It's not looking good for TEAL team right now. What we haven't seen yet is a slow attack from Serenity. That could be the chance for TEAL team to bring it forwards if they want to play aggressive of their own. But again, it feels like sort of wheel spinning here. A lot of options are just slowly going away.
We are trying to play a little aggressive, called out by the knife though, and Force be backing up, but 2 playing a bit more of an aggressive angle on this B long is the rest of the team playing a bit back. Aldrone to get a little bit of information, but the fragment dissuade anyone from pushing forward, and Bones going to be taken down on the reposition here. And here it is. Both of the B players go down, so it's going to be a fast push out onto site now. They do have the Viper wall at their disposal, going to be going up right about now. They got the Sage wall on top of that. Walls on walls on walls. Yoshi does have the knives, but doesn't have the line of sight to try and find a head.
Slow rotate coming through from mid side. Could be good to spread the angles out more.
It is just looking for any little crumb of information. Just a little crumb, please. That over the wall. 3, try and get onto site. There it is. They're all holed up. 1 spot though. Yoshi popping around, but last alive with the knives. Able to find 1, but 2 HP. 6-0 for EX-SERENITY, and they've been dominant on the attacking end.
Absolutely. EX-SERENITY now, good for the half already. Any extra rounds after this is just gravy in their pockets. Ew. But Yoshi does have the op here. Top fragger for the team. Only at 4 kills though, but looking away from that, having the op here for extra map pressure could be a really good option, a good retaliation against a very aggressive team like EX-SERENITY. But looking at the setup here again, a mid placement, a lot more predominance towards mid, but also A as well. This could be a very aggressive round towards mid.
Oh, definitely. A bunch pushing up, but look at who is there to greet them. But caught with no gun out means that the mid push is going to be successful there. Look at that. TEAL team finally with some little advantage here. Came in the back of sight, being able to slow things even further. Pops around, being able to find both. And here it is. Finally, some advantage. Look at that. 4 alive, but finally getting a point on the board.
The Viper Orb goes down inside mid. Both the defenders push through it, able to find both of the lurkers, trying to bisect the entirety of A. Once one half of the Crab Claw goes down, the other half can't really pinch too much. And so EX-SERENITY, they were funneled into their own attack on A main. But now going into this next round, there is a lot more possibilities of a huge default coming into play. Now that Serenity's attack and their strategy's been countered, Yoshi still has the up. And look where they're going to be playing, towards B side. We see a lot of those attackers going towards that way, and it's a big long angle with not many places to hide.
I mean, B side has been working for them, so B side best side. But here it is, Yoshi with a fantastic little op angle, and Cade on the ground to follow up. Will not be called out by the recon dart, just getting out of there just in time. And this point, a slow little push up. They don't quite have the information as to where these 2 members of TEAL team are. They know that there is somebody here. They just don't quite know where, but not dedicated to it yet. The spike is still down outside of B. Here it is, just holding this angle. Still nobody quite peeking up, but the wall coming up is going to be denying this line of sight from Yoshi. Here it is. Player gets a little peek here. That's about it. Not even still dedicating. They get onto site, but just playing it slow besides that.
Playing it slow. He's the only option. Viper's Pit and A. Everyone on EX-SERENITY must dedicate to this site. There is an attempted lurk, though, from Sage going towards mid. 30 seconds left, though. Still no utility.
30 seconds left, but the wall going up implies that they're going to start pushing out sooner rather than later. Able to get the opening pick. They're going out fast. Here comes all of the utility. Trying to stop a plant with the shock dart here. 10 seconds left, but the spike does manage to go down just in time. Teal seem in a difficult position, especially Viper Spit coming out, but they do have some tools in their back pocket, namely this lockdown to try and push someone out. Here it is, 3v2, forcing Serenity to be backing up here. 2 detained. Cade going for the defuse. Finds one, finds two, gets it halfway. Can he get this in time?
I think they did.
Yes, clutch.
Oh.
Yes, that was like split second. But that lockdown with those kills, Cade managing to clutch it up for the team. And that was, I think, the closest defuse kill that I've seen.
Yeah, I think so too. That lockdown came in clutch. Again, once you're detained, 8 seconds, you can't do anything. Perfect opportunity for Cade to just get a double kill there and really clean things up. But now, everyone's going to be looking for Cade, the playmaker of that last round. A lot of setup towards A again, but B, you mentioned it yourself, Sierra, last round, really great place for EX-SERENITY to go. They've only lost once on each side so far.
Yoshi, though, fantastic little opening pick there in the mid. That is the type of momentum you want to see, especially taking down the opposing team's offer. But not for long. Joba's got that res in his back pocket and giving player a second lease on life. Combo calling him out. Gonna push back up towards B. Serenity's been loving this so far. And I mean, a loss due to a lockdown? It's a loss, but at the same time, this still is a fantastic site to be going in, a site that they've been more than not winning.
Absolutely. With that being said, though, space being created, Viper Wall is up, denying the line of sight from kitchen entrance too. Yoshi can't see a thing.
Not at all, and player with that new lease on life is able to make use of it, taking Fire out of there. Shock darts again to, take away the plant for at least a couple of seconds. Nick on the flank able to take at least one out before being traded out. Here it is. Larry's getting a little bit aggressive there, but it's not going to be to any use. Cade, the playmaker, but not going to be able to make anything happen this time around.
There we go. Player again. Beautiful. 7-2 though. Good for the half already. Still, we talked about EX-SERENITY doing so, but look at this. In the time we mentioned it last, Teal team have been able to gather 2 extra rounds, excuse me. But both of those, and correct me if I'm wrong, especially the second one, both of those had to do with ult utility. And now while Teal team are coming close to having maybe just Bones as Empress coming out, and Cade returning with the lockdown again, relying on just ults for the defense is not the best way to go about getting consistent rounds. And so EX-SERENITY, better with the gunfights and utility it seems, the push up here with just pistols.
Just pistols, but knowing that they've been pushing B super aggressively, it's a nice little angle for a shorty, but 0 Point gonna call it that there is at least someone there, and there's only so many times that you can get away with the same shenanigans. They're going to be putting their efforts onto A site. There is 2 there waiting, and there's going to be a fast flank from Teal team. And look at that, Cade right around the corner, making use of that Guardian, trying to hold off just for a little longer.
Flank now denied. Echo, though, trying to push forwards, unable to do so. That Killjoy lockdown once again returns, making A completely unviable. 50 seconds left, though. EX-SERENITY could go back in towards A at the beginning, but the rotate's already been called for Teal team's side to go towards B. So they could go mid, they could go B main, they could also return back to A. A lot of options with 40 seconds left for Serenity. No dedication has really been made yet.
Oh, but there is a lot of bodies over on B. This recon bolt potentially able to call him out. Nope, shot down too fast. Player pulling the knives out, looking to pop around and make some noise and find somebody here. But Flyer is going to be able to take him out. Echo falling around with not 1, not 2, but 3 heads there. There's going to be that null command from KO as well. Further suppress. Get a little bit of a boost. 2v3 situation. Cade does still have the Guardian in hand, but needs to be able to find a body to work with here. Not gonna go over well. Serenity taking it to an 8-2.
I did like the commit to the null command going through on side of B. After the lockdown came by, it did feel that Cade's lockdown came a little too early, but EX-SERENITY, they're known for their very aggressive plans at the beginning of each round. Going for Cade's lockdown was a smart move. It delayed EX-SERENITY. They had to sit back and think for a second what to do next, but again, relying on these ults to really dictate how the rounds can go is a dangerous game to play, and we're seeing the same setup again from TEAL team. 2 bodies this time, 2 different ones playing right outside B main, but they do have an op to work with instead of a shorty.
Yeah, playing it aggressive, or at least having more bodies over on B, but having the guns to match could be the difference there. But Serenity not getting too antsy over here. An Owl Drone out to potentially hold position here. Yoshi being called out with that 0 point here. Player just looking to jump up, but gonna rotate back out. Look at this. Just going back towards A.
Rotate very strong. KJ Util still set up all over A at every facet. Yoshi's still watching Garage in case someone does rotate back, and KO, it's a great read, is still right on the other side of A for a potential flank. But the setup toward A is beginning now. There is a recon bolt to possibly spot out Cade at the very least, but it does shuffle around some members' locations. Not a full dedication to A just yet. Still a backup from TEAL team towards the back of Snowman. The Viper Wall positioned to go down for the aggressive take again. There is a Hunter's Fury to work with.
Ooh, the op though, the line of sight, not gonna let him get any ground there. As with 30 seconds left, calls been made. There is so much happening there. Echo being able to get the nice little flank kill on top of that. Here it is. It's going to be a 4v3 for this retake. TEAL yet again on the back foot. I feel like I keep saying that, but EX-SERENITY has been so strong with this B take and being able to just hold down this site. TEAL team, not much they can do. They do have an op, but it's a 4v1 situation for Yoshi. Dropping it. At this point, the 0 point, being able to call it exactly where he is. And look at this, 9-2.
Beautiful work again for the 9-2. EX-SERENITY, their big strength right now is not even playing off information, it's just taking the gunfights and winning it. And every time TEAL team finds themselves on that back heel with their economy still, it's like they don't have the ability to set up as much as they would like. So EX-SERENITY, they can take advantage of that fact, go for one route, go maybe even find an opening pick, then reroute themselves back again until they feel comfortable enough dedicating to a site. And I've noticed too, Serenity's purposely playing around where this Killjoy utility's noticed.
Ooh, finally something to hopefully try and slow EX-SERENITY down. Alright, I take that back. I take that back. Called out by the Owl Drone means it's going to be in a position to be taken out instantly. And with that, the ult. And at that point, you've lost any hope of holding B site down. Nick, with it hiding, doesn't quite take Bones down though, which means there is the opportunity, at least for 2 on the flank. It is still a difficult situation here. The Hunter's Fury gonna make it even more difficult. Now down to Cade, finds one head before being taken down. It's gonna go over to the swap, but EX-SERENITY has a fantastic lead here on map 2.
We have seen 10-2 a few other times in this tournament so far. Can't count out TEAL team just yet. They are swapping over to the attack, and this could just be the more preferred side to go. They do have the double duelist to work with. They have more flash, but well, they have an equal amount of flash potential than Serenity does as well, but a lot more utility to help cover a site. The null command is out for EX-SERENITY to use for the dedicated push, but the lockdown for Killjoy can be there to stuff everyone in or out of the site entirely. So I'm curious to see how this is all going to go down. Double Viper Wall on each side, but we didn't see a lot of defensive Viper Walls because no one really pushed onto A.
Yeah, definitely. But I'm excited to see. Obviously, EX-SERENITY had a fantastic attacking end, but TEAL team has some attacking potential of their own. So I'm excited to see with the double duelists if they could be pushing and making an impact here. And I mean, so far, they're making that impact. They have had enough of being pushed around and bullied by EX-SERENITY here. Gonna have a flawless pistol round on the swap. And
that's definitely a round TEAL team has desperately needed so far in this map. They are up a map from the previous one, sure, but overall, this has been the first round they've won in 4 rounds, sure, but before that, it was an extra 6 in a row they weren't able to tie up. And this buy-up is going to be so important to gain possibly another one, but EX-SERENITY, we've seen how well their defensive pistol rounds can be in the past, and this, again, holding angles at a little bit of a wider map could very well be devastating, but it's interesting to see the placements going mostly towards A, a site that is not being occupied at all by EX-SERENITY's defense.
Not at all. Instead, there's a push up towards mid. There's a push up on B. They have pistols, but if they can catch someone out by playing aggressive here, it could be big. And look at that, Joba as well, pushing up through tunnel, being able to find one on top of that. But no presence on A means it is a free site for Teal Team to try and take here. But the flank has been so strong. They're able to pick up a couple guns, try to, you know, work with something here, go into a 3v3 for the retake.
This is a triple flank coming out right now from EX-SERENITY. The double push-up comes by.
There.
Bones and company, though, they have to play a retake themselves at this point. They've given up site control.
They have playing together, and look at that wall. Ooh, almost punished for it, but not quite. Nick gets halfway on the defuse, put it to a 1v1 situation. Rumble called out at this point. Just a right click away, unable to quite do it though. Teal Team picking up another one.
Good 2 in a row now for Teal's team. This is where we're going to see that buy-up round come by from EX-SERENITY. This is where they get that full rifles. And we've seen between both of these teams in their different opponents too, that these rifle rounds, if they are down rounds in the beginning of the half, have been a huge turning point for both of these teams in the past. But it can only, if it is at all, only can be won for one of these teams here. Again, a default towards A and mid. The defenders spread out between 3 different quadrants now. This aggression towards mid can be really dangerous if it goes down one way or another.
Definitely, but denied any sort of push potential here from EX-SERENITY. There's a lot of util going down. They don't want to be pushed through mid again, but the util gets used up. Gonna start trying to be a little more aggressive here before backing up. That's not a fight that you want to be taking. Over on A, a lot of ground to be made. The site has been mostly free, which is giving Teal Team the opportunity to just get set up in every sort of angle to make this a difficult retake for EX-SERENITY. They do have 4 members to do it with, but it will be a difficult one as all the angles are checked. The player making some fantastic headway, at least being able to take out Bones there. Look at this, they defuse. 2 alive still for Teal Team, but the defuse going underway for EX-SERENITY to be 1 away for a match point.
EX-SERENITY just did not give Teal Team a chance to even set up for their post-play lineups. No way, no sir, no how. And while Teal Team was able to get the spike into the ground, that was pretty much a first for their own attacking side. EX-SERENITY just completely disrespected all the utility being thrown out onto the site. So the default from A to mid did certainly work for Teal Team to get onto the site, but that post plant has been a difficult situation for them. And we're seeing that same setup again for EX-SERENITY's defense as well, or for Teal Team's attack to the defense. Now the recon bolt goes down, no information gained. There is a Viper wall dividing the site.
A seems to be a favorite so far for Teal Team as yet again pushing out. There is one up towards heaven, but a fast rotate coming out from the other members of EX-SERENITY to, you know, have a repeat of last time, not letting them get too comfortable out on this site and being able to delay that plant with the shock darts, nonetheless, letting everybody get together so EX-SERENITY can play as a team for this retake. They have the utility, and right out of the gate, Fragment coming out, try and be pushing people out of certain parts of this site. Bones hiding in the back of the site though, managing to take down 2 in alt. And it's going to be down to player, all by his lonesome, shot down through the cloudburst for Teal Team to, you know, actually take down A site this time like they wanted to last time around.
Really nice adaptation coming out from Teal Team this time, not giving up the site despite having so much lineup potential between their agents, making sure they can stay on the site and stuff EX-SERENITY into a double mini push in of itself, really taking the gunfights and winning them all effectively. It puts Serenity on a bit of a back heel, and that's not something we've really seen a whole lot in that first half. But this second half, Teal Team, they're starting to gain that momentum and string rounds together. This is only going to leave EX-SERENITY X-Serenity with just at most a Judge and a Marshal, both of which playing on side of A. That's going to leave B's defense a little bit weaker than we've seen previously.
A little weaker than previously seen, however, still 2 members there, and player out of the gate going to make use of that Marshal. Take a pick right out of the gate, and putting them in a position can back up, but Teal Team not wanting to press their luck any further might look back towards A, where that Judge is sitting around the corner.
And this is going to be a very tough Judge. If someone goes on top of pipes, that could be devastating. Joba has to pray to every deity in the sky.
Oh, the kill and the dismiss. Bones was so close to going down from this Judge, but being able to dismiss right out of there, and right after that, the Judge being taken out. Bones didn't even have to worry about that. Spike goes down. 3v2 situation. Echo does not have much health to his name. Despite that, still able to pop down and take one out with him. But 3v1 situation, utility on top of that. Gets it at least halfway, but Cade able to pop around in time to take him out.
Really nice work, especially face checking into the defuse. Both of Cade's mollies had missed onto the spike. They were trying to create space, it seems. I'm not too sure what that leftmost molly was supposed to do, but regardless of the fact, really close call. X-Serenity, again, still on that back heel. Only 1 round has been won in their favor this half, but they do have 3 ults to work with here. Curious to see what Cade can do for the lockdown, but keep an eye on the top of the board. Sova, Aiko has a Hunter's Fury that could easily counter it out.
I feel like the amount of times that the Lockdown and the Hunter's Fury come out at the same time, you see them both on board at the same time, is just crazy. Right away, though, Hunter's Fury is going to actually be used up now to try and dissuade any push coming out onto A site. And it slows them for a second, but the Hunter's Fury being used up gives every way for this Lockdown to come out instead. A little bit of utility to try and push them out further, but other than that, they have the site.
A safe spike plant to go down now. Player looking to find the angle. Not a lot of map control for the side of X-Serenity. They're slowly trying to deny lines of sight to push forwards.
Owned gets flashed, but nice little angle. Here it is. Another Hunter's Fury coming out this time for Teal Team. Push anybody back off this, and look at that. This was a fantastic execution. Only 1 left, and player taken down.
7-11 now. By the way, use the app.
7-11.
Yeah. Please go use the app. But overall, now A side has been a weak spot for X-Serenity. They keep trying to go for these retakes, but Teal Team, they either give themselves up onto the site and use their ults to take it back, or maintain the dominance of the site, or they directly face check X-Serenity. Both times though, when X-Serenity was able to get that defuse, they stayed on site. It's so hard to determine what they need to do next, but Teal Team, just stay on A site. It's worked every single time.
Yeah, if a site's working, why are you going to trade it up? Especially knowing X-Serenity, mostly on a Sheriff round. Flya is going to be holding that flank angle as well. Cade, on top of that, to dissuade anyone from pushing up. But a nice little knife will at least put that to rest. 3v2 definitely could be a lot worse of a situation for a round where all you had was Sheriffs and a knife. And it's in a actually winnable situation, especially being able to pick up a Vandal off of the flank.
Oh, we've seen this happen before. The retake coming through, the extra flanks coming by for X-Serenity. Teal Team have given up site control again.
Bones has the Leer. There's shock darts as well to work with. They have the utility. Pops around. There it is. The knives don't get the kill, but Nick is able to finish that off. The time is not on player's side here. There's still 2 people to be taking down. And at this point, all you can try to do is get 1 more kill, but Yoshi's going to stop that.
funnel and an early aggression each round from X-Serenity has, again, just simply not worked. Teal Team are now prepared for that aggression inside of mid. They're ready to see the full give up and full retake of A each and every single round. X-Serenity, they're barely even holding bodies up until what seems like this round. They have at least 2 here, but again, what kind of utility is being brought out? We've seen that Viper Wall come by each time, but it hasn't really done a lot. This time, though, Viper's Pit, possibly from 410, could cover the entirety of A and make things a little bit more difficult for Teal Team.
Well, of course, and sure enough, pushing up forward, dropping that Viper's Pit. All the ults coming out, Reyna going to be going the Empress on top of that. Trying to get a little bit of information with this Aldrin, find out where Nick is. Nick is going to be able to hide from that. There hasn't been a committed push from Teal Team on to A. They're all bunched up outside. The rest of the team is, coming together. At this point, Fragment come out to try and stop them from pushing. Look at that, able to find a second one before being going down. Serenity getting that spike down, and was still the Viper's Pit. Pretty difficult situation. Nick does go down. Put this into a 3v3. They do have control of the site, at least.
Attempted flank to come by. Gets destroyed by the turret, though. Or the turret destroys them. All the same.
Fantastic job by Teal Team there. There was the Viper's Pit, but being taken out means they can just go back to their usual shenanigans over on A.
Absolutely. 9-11 now. Teal Team have only won 1 round in the second half of what was a destructive defensive side for them. Or, I'm sorry, attacker side. But this time around, completely different story. Again, the setups between the two teams generally haven't changed in this half. We've been pretty much seeing the same exact setups go up against each other almost every single round. But the small little nuances like different positions, the momentum and the timing have been interesting to watch. But a lot of this has just come down to Teal Team taking control of the site and X-Serenity simply not knowing how to play off each other to go for the retakes.
Definitely. There's going to be the 0 point as well to at least suppress a couple of abilities. Slow it down. Flya, nice little pick over on B, though. So a couple of members of X-Serenity going over that way as Teal Team looks to be rushing towards this site. A's been fun while it's lasted, but with the pick over here, it's time to test out the waters on B.
It's been a little while.
It's been a hot second. Almost forgot what B site looked at at this point. But here it is, Yoshi being able to find 2 to secure this site. It's down to Adder and the player. Try and push onto site here. But still 5 Embers alive. Going to be a tough one at this point too. You can just go for utility to set up for this game.
Great shot.
Finds 1. Fantastic shot, as you said. Caught up by the recon dart player. Oh, himself. They know exactly where you are. They're chasing you down, bud. From both angles, player, no chance. Teal Team, fantastic job at bringing this back. 1 point away from tying it up.
Absolutely, 1 round away. And this is where the timeout's going to come down and be very, very important. We thought the first half was destructive, and it was. But the second half, too, has been almost equally as bad for both, or for X-Serenity. So far, we've seen these very slow, not so methodical, attempted retakes to come out from X-Serenity, and that's not to put them down at all, but we've seen a lot of individual gunfights with very little trade potential in of itself. Utility has come down, sure, but the lack of having full buy rifles a lot of these rounds, and including the fact that they've had to play so far off the site and try to almost scope in these long-range gun duels to take down Teal Team, is just a recipe for disaster for X-Serenity's side. Teal Team, though, they rush in. They don't really change how they're rushing in. They use some line of sight utility, some controller usage, and they just go and get the spike and then kind of play the retake that X-Serenity hasn't felt comfortable performing in.
Yeah, there's been a couple, but Teal Team just having such a fantastic job of just holding down any site that they attempt to take. And X-Serenity, this defense just hasn't been their side, even when they've had defensive tools like the Viper's Pit, not being able to fully take advantage of it, or Teal Team just not caring. We can take Nick out, and with that goes the Viper Pits and their chances of holding A. definitely been a little bit of a tricky situation. It looks like, though, Teal seem a little bit more of a default and looking a little bit towards B.
Yeah, this default towards B is interesting to see. They saw how easy it was to take it over last round. Early util with the Owl Drones gonna see that there's no information, but there is one hiding inside Nest. That being said, this retake, the rotate's a little slow, the Viper's Pit is up. That's gonna be so much line of sight denial that EX-SERENITY has to fight their way through, but they do have a null command to possibly use.
They do, but having a difficult time with these retakes already. Playing inside of a Viper's Pit only going to make it all the more difficult. Trying to find anyone in here. Both teams have everyone still alive here, and it's a difficult place to try and push out into. Fragments to try and close angles. Is able to at least find one, and is a null command. So, you know, sticking around for a second longer if there's that opportunity. Bring him back, but no. Viper's Pit goes down, and so does everyone within it. TLC tying it up.
Yeah, EX-SERENITY attempting to read into Teal Seam, pushing into A like they had the majority of the rounds. It was a good counter read, though, from Teal Seam to go for the early Owl Drone towards B. They did see the null command, which is a much more close range ult, I think, for a lot of utility usage on a site like A. B, yeah, a little bit, but we saw exactly what happened too if you use it on a wider space. KO just kind of got funneled in and went down almost immediately. But EX-SERENITY again, forced to eco buy here. If they forced up, they'd be 2-0 already.
Yeah, but look at this. I mean, A was fun, but B? We can execute on B as well.
It works pretty well.
Yeah, B's also good. We should have tried this sooner. And look at this. A fast push out onto B. EX-SERENITY, though, with a very fast rotate from A. So they're all here. They're all ready to try and take this back. Shock Dart will at least even the score and find one. But that's all it's good for so far. They don't have the guns to have a fully executionable retake, but anyone they can take down would be fantastic. Yoshi going on a nice little run, 3 down before being taken down, but Bones will put any of Adder's homes to rest, and Teal Seam is now on match point. They won the first map. They are 1 away from winning the whole tournament.
What an incredible comeback in the second half, regardless of who wins the next round. Beautiful work to be seen. Going back pretty much, 10 rounds in a row now? Unbelievable. But again, EX-SERENITY, they were on an eco buy. Now it's the first rifle round we've seen in a while, but this could very well be the last round of the entire tournament. Now we get to see how this goes down. Again, a default in the play. Go for what's worked in the past, and that's definitely A. Double Viper walls down on side of A as well, and the mid control is huge.
Ooh, what I haven't seen is too much pressure in the mid so far, but Flyer able to make fantastic use of that, but Player being able to fire back with that op through tunnels. Try and slow them down as much as they can, and EX-SERENITY, Joa does have that resurrection in his back pocket to try and bring back someone for at least a moment. Absolute bloodbath, though, over on A. Spike does go down, is dropped. EX-SERENITY finally with an advantage. They just have to be holding back, not let Teal Seam get this. And look at this, Cade left by himself, 3v1 situation. EX-SERENITY might just be able to bring this into overtime to try and bring this into a map 3. Lockdown as well. Here it is. Cade has the tools at his advantage, being able to push the others out if he can go and get this spike.
Spike's retrieved.
Spike's retrieved. 2v1 situation. Try and get a little information where they're at. Here it is. You know one's up near heaven. Here it is popping around the corner. Everyone's so quiet, just trying to get that little bit of information. Here it is, though. Cade goes down. We're going into overtime.
Great read coming out from EX-SERENITY, really kicking themselves in the gear when it matters most. Now, overtime for what very well could be the championship game of the tournament here, but overall, EX-SERENITY, they seem to have found what they can do for their own attack very easily, but the defensive side for both these teams, it's been a little underwhelming at times. That being said, though, we've seen this happen in previous series in this tournament alone, where it's a battle of the defense. Sometimes it flips itself on its head, folks, so we might have to watch out for each team winning defensive rounds back to back and a struggle for the attack. It happens a lot more than you think in the overtime matches. But I like what Cade is doing here. We do see the defensive Killjoy utility down inside kitchen and mid. That's going to only leave the mollies on default plant, but everybody else is towards B. They're ready for the bloodbath.
You see this mini-map? Everybody is lined up here. About to be a battleground, and EX-SERENITY is the one taking the advantage right out of the gate here in this highly contested round. Look at them. Close quarter fights is going to be the name of the game, and the only one left live was the A player, Cade. This is a situation, but as we've said, the defensive hold has been the struggle for both teams. So watching the attacking end take the win is not going to be too surprising here. And there's a Hunter's Fury for Cade to try and get around as well. Of course, nothing to lose here. Can try and poke out EX-SERENITY. Winning it on attack, now just has to hold TEAL Seam off on the defense to bring this into a map 3.
And TEAL Seam, they have to get that attacking round of themselves. They've been able to do so pretty effectively the majority of these rounds when they were on the attack themselves. But EX-SERENITY, they have to win one of, I believe, 4 now defensive rounds. Their 4th one this entire game. Look at the setup here. Incredibly spread out between everybody around. Very little trade potential, especially for mid. There's literally nothing there for Aiko.
There, but looking towards B, a little bit of a push up, a little bit of a standoff there, and player is going to be getting a fantastic opening pick there on the defensive end for EX-SERENITY, though it's going to be evened out over on A site. Header in the back of site. There is the Viper wall up to deny TEAL Seam any line of sight here. They get to push out onto site, though. A fast dash is going to be fantastic here for TEAL Seam and making up some sort of ground. Here it is, the opportunity to be planting this spike. If they can just hold this post plant, they can be putting this into another round of overtime. Caught out by the recon dart. They know where these last 2 players are. Player able to find a nice little shot there. Here it is, Nick trying to go for the fuse. Doesn't get it quite halfway. Those where the last 2 are not able to get it. 13-13, another round of overtime, baby.
I mean, by now, both these teams play so fast, so aggressive. You look at the timer, the spike is going down before we even hit into the double digits of timers. It's unbelievable to see how fast each play can be. And there are sentinels on each side, but neither of which the goal has been to slow it down. A lot of the sentinel utility for the defense has been made specifically for the retakes, and it's been a struggle. But Cade has been able to edge out a little bit over Joba in those situations. But again, with how spread out that utility needs to be and completely guessing where the aggressive attack will go, it's been difficult for these Sentinels to really find their ground in this match.
Oh, definitely. Not quite the bloodbath that we saw last time around over on B, but it's still going to be highly contested here. Just not as aggressive as last time. Both teams playing it a little slower. It is going to come down to whoever can have the better defensive end, and TEAL Seam wants to close this out. Both teams know they can win on attack.
Absolutely. And look how slow EX-SERENITY is playing this attack. They know how lethal it can be if they lose this round. A defensive win for either team is going to be paramount for either championship point or map 3. Or map 2, excuse me. No, it is map 3.
Map 3.
It's been a long day.
But look at Bones.
Bones is behind yellow.
Ooh. One's behind yellow, managing to pick one up. Just missed get that little bit of information, but popping around player going to be taking him out. EX-SERENITY yet again with an advantage on the attacking end here. These teams, they've got this attack down to almost perfection, and this is not going to be an exception this time around. This overtime can go for ages, ladies and gentlemen. The wall up as well, going to make it a little more difficult to go. She can only really go one way. Just pop around the corner. The one way, and that way is going to be down. Player going to be taking you right out of that game. It does have utility, but Cade, yet again, 1 against 3, 1 against the world, and the timer is running up. And at this point, There's just lineups, there's just utility. There's not a way for him to be taking this down.
I did like the adaptation of Serenity playing a little bit slower at the beginning of the round. I feel like it may put Teal Team in for a bit of a loop there, expecting that fast aggression again, but when there was just seemingly nobody pushing B main, there was a little bit of hesitation, and we saw someone like Bones playing so far back into yellow, still kind of expecting it, but it wasn't the aggressive position we saw when the teams were swapped over to begin with. Now, Team Serenity, or EX-SERENITY, excuse me, have to do the same thing again. Play their defense. And this has been a major struggle. Same setup as previous times before. Early recon bolt goes down, but it gets destroyed instantly. No information for the defense.
Player holding that B angle. But it does have the wall there, trying to test the waters as the rest of the team looking towards A. There was the 0 point to kind of suppress abilities, get a little bit of information, a little look into the mine. No luck over on B. Player going to be putting a stop right to that. So here it is.
Double pinch.
The double pinch. Over on A. Yoshi pops around though, finds a headshot before being traded out. Serenity has an advantage, and they're so... It comes down to the defensive win. They can try and get this, but Cade gets to even out this score. TLC all caught in the one corner as Adder pushes up, finds one. Unable to quite find the other though. Fragment coming out, not in time though. Adder unable to get away back into even ground. 2v2. There it is. A little bit of utility push, go out of position, put player in a position 1v2 situation. Left. Spike hasn't gone down yet, but they do have control of the site. Player back on Raptors. Look at that patience. Dashes forward though, but dashes forward into his death. Got the one kill, but playing that a little too fast to try. Mob hand is not going to work out.
You're completely right. Doesn't quite work out again. Really close for a defensive round win on EX-SERENITY's side. It was down to a 1v1, and frankly, that's not something we've seen yet in overtime on either side. So definitely a really close call. You can definitely tell both teams' defenses are adapting at a much faster rate than we saw before, really trying to get into the minds of everybody. What I'm wondering right now is who's going to get 30 kills first, Player or Cade? Because I feel like this is not the last round of overtime. The last set.
It might not be. And yet again, B, the contested round. I feel anytime we see EX-SERENITY on attack, it's going to be back towards this B site. Little Cloudburst, stop the recon dart from calling G out, or Bones out, who's playing this corner. But the 0 point, going to be a little bit of a different story here. Viper Wall to deny that line of sight, but just playing patiently, holding this angle, waiting for someone from EX-SERENITY to just make one wrong step and get your head blown off.
Bones, so aggressive with the angle. Viper Wall's up.
Bones is hungry. He wants one of these kills. You know they're there. You know they're just on the other side of the wall. You can taste it. You can feel it. And you're going to find one. You're going to find two. Fantastic will dismiss. And you get 2 arms. You get to dismiss. And you get to heal yourself up. Fantastically played. Here it is. TLC with an advantage with this defensive end. EX-SERENITY. One person left alive. Player with an op against the world. Both of these teams, it comes down to a defensive win, and Teal Seam has the formula to get it right now.
Absolutely. 20 seconds left now. Player pushing forwards. Viper Wall number 2 does go up at the recon bolt, almost spotting out Player, but not quite just yet.
10 seconds left. Player has to make a move and has to make one down, but everybody's there. A defensive win for Teal Seam. Now they get to play on attack. This has been their bread and butter. This is the opportunity for them to close this up and take this down in a 2-0 in the finals.
Absolutely. What could very well be the final round of this entire tournament now. Teal Seam, it's all for the attack, and we've seen how easy it's been so far. I don't know how many rounds of overtime we've had. I'm not going to do the math, but what I can tell you is those amount of rounds, only one of them has been a defensive win. Teal Seam have to take that opportunity and run away with it now for what could very well be that final round. And A-main's the way to go. Early recon bolt goes underway. Player pushes forwards but goes down instantly.
A little bit of aggression from EX-SERENITY here on the defensive end, but it's not going to pan out quite yet. Adder has a nice little angle behind this wall. I don't think he was called out either from that drone, but will get caught out just a moment later with an aggressive push up. Here it is. That was so fast. Like I said, the bread and butter being these attacking ends. Teal Seam, 5v1 EX-SERENITY. All odds here. Nick, it's been fantastic, but a 5v1 to keep your team in this. This is a tall order. There it is. Teal Seam, finally, after multiple rounds of overtime, taking down the 7-11 game time, anytime tournament in a 2-0. And what a treat that last game was.
Absolutely, a very long ordeal between both teams, but it's Teal seemed to bring it all out at the very end there. EX-SERENITY, of course, did a fantastic job going through, but it was a battle of who could get the most amount of attacking wins, it felt. Each team had stark differences about how they approached the icebox, and each one of them had a lot of success, but not so much on defense. But Teal Team brought it back out at the very end. They were the ones in overtime changing the strategies, figuring out how they could adapt and do something different, but it felt like towards the very end, EX-SERENITY, they just kind of employed the same strategies over and over and tried to just make it work, fit a square peg into a round hole over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, on the attacking end, did work out, but the defensive, that was a difficult one for both of these teams. But congratulations, Teal Seam. Let's look back at the bracket, see how they got to this spot. But congratulations. It was a fantastic run through. I mean, these teams were so evenly matched on this last map. It would have been so fun to watch them take it over to bind. Sorry. But being able to watch the countless rounds of overtime was just a treat in itself.
Oh, absolutely. Coming close, almost maybe like a world record. I don't remember what the world record is anymore, but it was a very long matchup there. And Teal Seam and company, they definitely deserve the lion's share of all the prize money they have gotten here today.
Oh, definitely. But with that victory, that means our time on the broadcast is up. It is Halloween. We already have our costumes on. It is time to go trick-or-treating. I know there's a lot of treats here. It's time to go get some tricks. I hope everyone has no tricks, sorry. But everyone has a happy Halloween. Thanks so much for tuning in. My name is Sierra. I'm joined here with Keg. Make sure to check us out. And don't forget, it's only the first tournament with 7-11 game time anytime. There's going to be Apex Legends November 13th, 14th, and Guilty Gear Strive in December. So make sure to stay tuned to those. It should be a great time. Thanks everyone so much for tuning in. Catch you later.